Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and Ruben Amorim is Manchester United's new manager. A new era starts. Amorim, it may not be a bit of a surprise, but the pace in which Manchester United have done it may be a surprise. We spoke about this yesterday. Will we get the announcement today? Well, we've got it. Sporting have put out an official statement. Fabrizio Romano has done here we go. And Amorim will be Manchester United's new manager. There will be no delay on this at all. Time-wise, we'll talk about that, of course, but you would expect him to be... Well, will he take charge of the game tonight? I don't know. For Sporting, obviously won't take charge of Man United tomorrow. That'll be Ruud van Nistelrooy, but he will be in charge for the Chelsea game, and that is a positive because we want that new manager bounce with the new manager. So this is what has been said. Manchester United have expressed an interest in hiring coach Ruben Amorim, with the board directors of Sporting referring to the terms and conditions set out in the contract in force between the company and the coach, specifically the respective termination clause and the amount of 10 million euros. Manchester United have paid that, and the amount aforementioned clause has been met. So he is now a Manchester United player. Manchester United. No, he's not be a player. He's now a Manchester United manager. Fabrizio Romano says Manchester United, here we go. Sporting confirm communication received for Amorim to be appointed. He has already said yes to the proposal and to the project. So deal done on Amorim. I think the next thing for me really on this is we've spent so much time talking about it. Get your comments in as well. But I just want to say what are your thoughts on it, of course, but also I'm really... I think we're hungry, aren't we, as United fans, and we won't settle. And that's the best thing to say about it. And I think the next thing I'm looking at is he bringing his coaching team? I forget the name of his coaching team, but Sporting are apparently already looking to use his assistant manager as the new manager of Sporting. Well, this is not good. I'm genuinely concerned that Manchester United are going to make him work with Heck and Ruud van Nistelrooy because they appointed them two people in the summer. And that really would be not a major negative, but certainly it would be a minor concern for the start of what is going to be a new era. I just don't agree. I don't believe that taking a good manager from Sporting and only that and planting him into Man United with what effectively was everything we already had but Ten Hag, I just don't think that works. I don't think there's many examples of that working. You can't just take a manager, sack him, and then take another manager and put him into everything else that was there before. It has to be a wider team because he's going to implement a completely different way of playing. We've never played a 3-4-3. He can't just do that himself. He's also got to teach Van Nistelrooy and Heck how to play a 3-4-3 as well as the players. This is something that I'm very eager to find out about, and hopefully we're going to find out very, very quickly that he is going to bring that wider coaching staff with him. Because if he doesn't, then I think we're playing at this again, and we need to be absolutely on it. But Ruben Amorim to Manchester United, here we go. We've had plenty of those over the summer. We've had plenty of those over the years with signings. We've got here we go with the new Manchester United manager, and I tell you what, here we go. More about put your seatbelts on. How fast are we going here? This is super fast. Literally 48 hours ago, we hadn't even lost to West Ham yet. 48 hours ago, Michael Oliver hadn't even done his Prattmobile bloody Pratt refereeing yet. 24 hours ago, we'd only just reacted to the sacking of Erik Ten Hag, and here we are now at 3:30 in the UK on a Tuesday afternoon announcing our new manager. It's super fast and it's super efficient. And look, it's exactly what I was talking about on Friday when we didn't even know how long Ten Hag was going to still be here, where we maybe thought maybe Ten Hag could survive a lot longer. That one loss to West Ham did it for Ten Hag. But I remember saying on Friday to you, really, if they are going to remove Ten Hag, Ruud van Nistelrooy will be the interim and we'll be waiting until next summer probably. But if we did sack Ten Hag, I was a firm believer, and I think many of you were as well, where Manchester United, if Aston Villa can go and take a manager mid-season from a club, why can't we? And we've gone and done that, and I applaud that. I mean, this is a manager with a reputation as one of the best managers in Europe at the moment, and it's in October, and he's top of the league by a very long way, and Sporting are doing really, really well. And then, a few days later, he's now going to be Man United's manager. It just shows you how quickly you can move on these sort of things. So very, 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 very happy as to how quick they've moved. Somebody just said it's not official in the chat. You're on the wrong channel, mate. Get your trainers on and go for a jog. I mean, if you don't know how Here We Go works, then I can't help you, mate. At the end of the day, Man United will officially announce it a little bit later and we'll react to that with the official quotes. But when a transfer happens, we don't wait for official. We go on Here We Go or Ornstein or something like that. So this is done, mate. I don't know what you're waiting for. Maybe you're a City fan hoping that he's going to choose you and he's chose us. I mean, apparently Man City are now trying to say that they weren't even interested in Amorim. Really interesting how you got Pep's director of football months before you got Pep. And now you've took Sporting's director of football months before you were going to get Amorim. But now you don't want Amorim. It's really funny that, isn't it? You know, you've literally done this before and now you're pretending that you didn't want to do it again. Man United have got a really good manager here that a lot of big clubs were considering and looking at. I'm very happy with it. I think it's very important to draw a line in the sand, though, and say I'm not as optimistic as I was with Mourinho, and I'm not as optimistic as I was with Ten Hag. And I think that's just normal behaviour because we've been in this position so many times now. It would be ridiculously naive to sit here and say, we're cooking, we're back, this is going to work, because I think, honestly, we don't know if it's going to work. I like the speed of the appointment and I like the manager. I don't really like how it ended with Ten Hag, but I felt on Sunday night something needed to change and they made the change. They've then reacted really quickly. The process of what's happened, I'm not particularly happy with because I don't like the fact that we've had to sack another manager. But having done it, we've moved with it and we've moved really quickly. And I can't argue with that. I did not want a period of interim for even 2 weeks, let alone 2 games, and we're not going to get that. We've gone and got a manager from a club. We've not looked at who's available. We've looked at what we want. I applaud that as well. But I'm not going to sit here and predict success and titles and anything else. We've done that so many times. Why would anybody believe any story about a new manager, a new period of success, a new Man United, when we all said that when Jose came in, when we all said that when Oli got the job, and we all said that when Ten Hag got the job? I'm not as optimistic as I maybe have been in the past, but I am hopeful. I am hopeful, and I hope that we learn from the mistakes of the past, because every single manager that we've appointed before, you can see the glaring mistakes. You've got to pick that player. You can't sell that player. You're not going to get that coach. You've got to work with these coaches. That sort of restriction leads to the failure cycle that we are on. If we want to be successful, you've got to bring this man's coaches with him. If we want to be successful, you've got to let this man kick out who he wants. You've got to get this man pick who he wants. Forget brand, forget wage, forget everything. He's got to be allowed to pick the 11 he wants to pick. If he wants to put Johnny Evans at centre-back and Harry Maguire at centre-back and drop De Ligt and Martinez, you've got to let him do it. Like, he's got to do what he wants to do. And if we as fans will learn very quickly what this project is. Is he bringing in his own coaches with him, or are you forcing him to work with the failed coaches of the previous coach? Are you telling him who to pick and who he can sell? Well, we'll learn that very, very quickly, won't we? Specifically, favouritism FC. Amorim knows nothing about this fan base and knows nothing about what we know over the last 10 years. He might think, oh, you know, I'll get away with it. I'll be able to pick all these players. I'll be able to pick the favourites. But we will see through it in no time. I don't think there will be patience, by the way. I would like to think there'll be patience, but that patience is so multi-layered. Where does it even begin? People throw the word patience around like it's just a word. How does patience work? How does it work? What is patience in this scheme? Patience is all fine and well until he starts dropping Ahmad for Rashford and Garnacho. Patience is all fine and well until he keeps playing Casemiro over Ugarte. Patience is all fine and well until we haven't got a left back for another year. So I'm not saying all those things are going to happen. I think it's highly unlikely that Ugarte won't play under Amorim, but we know the patterns And there won't be any patience if people see a manager having to make do with the restrictions of the previous managers again. So it's going to be really exciting. And the great thing about Amorim is I think he comes in with a clean slate, whereas those above him and below don't. Mario Franco says, just as I backed Ten Hag to the very end, I'm backing Amorim as well. If Ineos means business, this guy should be the end of the Glazer cycle for once, says Mario Franco. I love what Mario's saying there. I can't do it. I won't do it. You can't do it either. My conscience is clean on every manager we've ever had. I said I wouldn't be Ten Hag out, and I never was. And I won't be Amorim out either. Now, whether that's stubbornness or not, it was horrible in the last couple of weeks, and I hated what it did to the fan base and this community. But I told you what I was going to do, and I did it. And I know a lot of you got really pissed off, but I refused to be Ten Hag out, even if he deserved it, because I've seen so many managers sacked by players that I was just never going to do it again. And I'm not going to do it this time either. I won't do it. I will give this manager the support till the very end. Much the same as our amazing away support has done every single time. David Moyes deserved no support at the end, and they were singing "We'll Stand By David Moyes" just before he got sacked. They did it with Jose. They did it with Ollie. They did it with Ten Hag. They did it with Rangnick. So I will be there supporting this manager because that's what I believe we should do, because I really don't think managers are the problem at Man United. I think it gets to a point where they've got to go, and I think we had got to that point with Ten Hag. But what people don't understand is, I'm not saying we should have kept Ten Hag. I think it was time for a change, as I said on Sunday night. But how we got there, I don't think it exclusively was on Ten Hag. And we must learn the mistakes of the past if we are to protect Amorim. Look at some of the stories coming out today. They're digging up the past. The media that you cannot trust, that has its own axe to grind, is just writing story after story about Ten Hag and the way he treated Sancho and the way he treated Rashford and the way he treated Ronaldo and the way he was very strict and the way he made them run hard. And I'm just like, he's gone. Why are we talking about it? Because I'll tell you for free, Mr. Media or Mrs. Media, there is absolutely no way Erik Ten Hag is exclusively responsible for Manchester United's failings of the last 10 years. Mainly because he hasn't been here for that long. So just be very careful about how they're going to treat this new manager, because it's very, very, very well-trodden path to try and pin it all on the manager. I've got a problem with the way that Ten Hag treated Sancho or any other player, because God, do we need some discipline at that football club. And I hope Amorim comes in and does that as well. Whether he's going to be allowed to do that or not, I don't know. The best solution is that he gets the best out of every single player. People will talk about selling Rashford or selling Casemiro or selling Bruno or selling Luke Shaw or whatever. The very best solution for Man United is that everybody stays fit and plays really, really well. That's the dream, because it costs no money. But he must be given the freedom to do that. I mean, just a bit of breaking news as well. Apparently Luke Shaw's injured again. I don't know how you get injured when you're already injured. I mean, to be honest, Luke Shaw's probably defying logic here. He's probably got a knee injury on one leg and has done the calf on the other. I mean, I've never known a player be injured and get another injury, but apparently he has injured himself again. But yeah, look, we can't rely on Luke Shaw, can we? Which is another thing that needs to happen. We need to get a left back in. Make sure you smash a like on the video, by the way. If you're happy with this news, let's get 10,000 likes. Amorim is a deal done. He is. Here we go. He will be joining Manchester United, and we're expecting his press conference could take place as early as Thursday, maybe Friday, but as early as Thursday. So exciting stuff. Won't happen. Rashford and a select few control things at Man United, says Daniel. I do wonder if Ineos are aware of fan perception around that Man United fans, a lot of Man United fans, think certain players run things at Manchester United. I mean, because that's not something you want, having paid the amount of money Ineos have paid. I've been on about Amorim for over 3 years. So Steg, perfect for us, needs different profile of players, but he is intelligent, attacking, youth-focused, and he is United. Well, make sure you check out that video I did at lunchtime it's only about 10 minutes long. It's about Amorim's style of play, the 3-4-3, the tactics, the formations, the players that will be at risk. But I think there will be more players that have to come in that suit his style of play, because this is going to be a massive transition for Manchester United if he's going to change the formation as well. Rashford should be the first one to be kicked out. He's the most senior player. He should be the embodiment of what a United player should be, but he's not. And why is he still quiet on Erik ten Hag? Excited for Amorim, says Sean Cal. I think. Do you think it's fair that Rashford's getting a lot of stick for not saying thank you to Ten Hag? He never said sorry for Belfast, so he might not do it. He's got his own brand, and he might not do it. But I think he will say thank you to Ten Hag, because if he doesn't say thank you to Ten Hag, then he just looks completely and utterly lost, because there is absolutely no way that Erik ten Hag didn't back Marcus Rashford to the hilt. He always backed him. He always picked him. He started him in the FA Cup final when Ahmad probably should have started. He started him straight after Belfast when everyone said he should have been suspended. So I think it's a bit unfair to have a pop at Rashford. I think there will be a thank you at some point, because Rashford was probably one of Ten Hag's biggest favourites, wasn't he? So I think it's a bit unfair to say, to get on Rashford's back about that. Because, I mean, if he never apologises, then that's just weird. But I think he will. If he never says thank you. Another manager that if he doesn't perform, the fans and players will be calling for his head. Give this guy the time he needs, for the love of God, says Sam Davis. It's the manager of the B team, not the assistant, says Ruben. Thank you very much for that. Amorim completed his coaching badges at United when Mourinho was here. He's a coach, not a manager. Hopefully it works out, but we'll be back him to the letter. Love your working, Mark. Keep going, says Joshua. Thank you very much. You called this week perfectly. Ineos watches us, says Parker. I don't know what you're talking about, Parker, but to be fair, I think as a community, I remember us talking on Friday about how if you remove Ten Hag, you don't go and get what's available. You go and knock on the door of managers. Obviously, on Sunday night, we basically said enough is enough. On Monday morning, he was sacked. On Tuesday lunchtime, I put it out there that I'd heard that Man United already had a manager in place. On Tuesday early evening, we heard it was Amorim. And we were told as well last night that it would be in for Chelsea, even though some people were saying that wouldn't happen. So everything has gone to plan. The biggest thing I'm happy about is that they've actually gone and got somebody in a job. I think if you go and get Xavi or Tuchel, it's always like, we're going for somebody who's available and cheap. And I think I would applaud Ineos and Sir Jim Radcliffe for not letting money get in the way. We've just given Erik ten Hag a very big whack of money to go. And we've just given Sporting a big whack for Amorim. So all in all, we've probably spent north of 20 million, maybe 25 million to remove Ten Hag and bring Amorim in. I would applaud that, because a lot of people would have predicted that would not have happened. And if you want to be the best and you want to beat the rest, then you've got to go and get the best. And I think whether you agree Amorim's the best or not, they've gone out and got the guy that they wanted. Hi, Mark. I'm a bit sad with the Ten Hag departure, says DV. Again, a reset until new cycle and same results. The trouble with a reset, DV, and the trouble with another beginning, and I said this in the summer, is that do the Ten Hag outers understand, and inners, it doesn't matter, we're all in the same club now, to be fair, so I take that back. Do fans understand that we're back at ground zero again, and do they understand what that means? It's your job as fans to support this manager. Sir Alex Ferguson said that about David Moyes, and he was right. It's our job as fans to support this manager. But your expectations have to go back down to ground zero. Like, if you're thinking we might get top four from this point of view, I don't think that expectation is fair. I mean, Robert McCormack FC was top four in a good style of football this season. That was for Ten Hag. This is not for Amorim. Amorim is coming in to a mess with no money to spend, and he is expected to pick up the ball and run with it. If somebody is saying we've got to get top four from this point, you're being very, very unfair. Very, very unfair. What the expectation is for this season is stability and growth. If that leads to a trophy or top four, miraculous from this point. So do we understand actually where we are and what this means now? Because there are no expectations that you can put on Amorim in October when he's playing catch up with a bunch of players that might not be good enough and a system that they've never played before. I think that's what I mean about patience. I don't think people have even computed what this means. This is completely and utterly, on Sunday, your expectations are part of a regime that has to hit those expectations. You're now part of a regime that doesn't have to hit them expectations because they must be afforded the time, patience as a new manager. They are a new manager. Now, if Amorim came in May and the season was over, he'd have 2 or 3 months of hype, excitement, signings, etc. This is a new situation. We're bringing in Ten Hag, Mourinho, but he's not coming in the summer. He's coming in the season. And that might be a bit of a head fuck for some people because they might start thinking, wow, we've got to get results now. And he hasn't. He hasn't got to get results now. He's coming into a mess, and he is absolutely entitled to patience and time. I would say any prediction is unfair, but I actually think we might see a bit of a kick from here. I actually think we might see a bit of a glow up. I would like to see us secure top 6 and win the Europa League, but I don't think that's fair to put that on Amorim. But I think we could do that, but I don't think we should expect that. In the longer term, I would say if we don't get top 4 this year, next season will be about top 4. So we're back to ground zero. We're a year. I think this season Ten Hag was meant to get top 4 and next season compete for the title. I'd say next season Amorim's got to get top 4 and maybe the season after that go for a title race. So we've lost the season, I think, is what I'm trying to say. This whole season now is groundwork again. And that's, that's the whole point, isn't it? When you hit that sack button, you also slide back down the slide to ground 1 again. And I think a lot of people will be on board with that, but that's where we are again now. Fitness and medical team also need to change, says Salim. Managers with similar CV acts on players now. Players on sale list of summer needs to happen in January. Get his players quickly, save the season, says Pran. Oh, that's another good point as well. Robert McCormack says it's not a must, but top 4 is still achievable. Oh, I agree, Robert. I think top 4 is still achievable, but we can't set that standard. We can't set that expectation, is what I'm saying, because then there'll be no patience. Talking about patience, I don't think I've mentioned this. I mentioned it on That's Football, actually. The speed in which Man United have reacted to getting Ten Hag out and Amorim in has caused, quite rightly, a lot of surprise and praise from the fan base. But we shouldn't be surprised, actually, when we think about it. How old is Sir Jim Ratcliffe? That's not a question I thought I was going to ask, but how old is Sir Jim Ratcliffe? So Sir Jim Ratcliffe is 72. He ain't got a lot of time. I'm not saying he's not going to last the week. I mean, he's a very fit man. He might be around for another 20 years, but what I'm saying, he might be around for another 30 years. But the good thing about Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his business acumen and his age and what he tries to achieve, he isn't somebody that's patient. He's very impatient. And that's not because he's 72. He's impatient. So when you think about it, it's not actually a surprise what he's done. He was probably the same as us. Ten Hag goes, I do not want an interim. I do not want Ollie at the wheel for 3 years and waste. I can't afford to waste years, months on maybes. And I think that is fed into why we've been so quick. I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe has literally said, right, if we're sacking Ten Hag, go and get the manager you want now, because I don't want to wait around. Pran, thanks for being a member. Thank you very much. Mario Franco, we've done yours. Does this make Ruud van Nistelrooy the shortest ever interim, says Rob? No, I think Carrick did 1 game, didn't he? Gifted 20 memberships. Mojo's in the house. Thank you very much to Mojo. HW says, now that it's all over, where does Ruud rank among managers in our post-Fergie era? Ruud? Don't know what that's all about. He'll be in charge tomorrow, mate. I haven't been convinced of Ineos, says Dylan, but props to them on the efficiency here. I love the timing. Hope this is the start of our Emery build. Where's Ten Hag's next job, says Robert. I mean, I wish Ten Hag all the best. I don't think he'll ever manage in the Premier League again. I think he will get a job in Europe, and I wish him all the best. I think he It's the same as Jose. I mean, I wish Ollie the best if he gets a job. Solid Blake, welcome to the members club. Welcome to Ruben. Ten Hag over. Well done. Ineos says class 92. When is this appointment going to be effective from, says Mark? I'd say he'll be in. I think he'll officially be in by tomorrow or Thursday. Shout out to Michael Oliver for getting this deal progressing fast, says Howard Webb. Brody says, I've been watching your FIFA streams. Amorim out, Goldbridge in. Hopefully we can be patient with the new manager. He still needs to clear the deadwood, says Fernando. The sad thing about the deadwood is we've been talking about clearing the deadwood since Louis van Gaal. It's nearly 10 years and we haven't cleared the deadwood. Can he be a good manager, but will he be given the tools to succeed, says Constantine. West Ham deal broke down. He couldn't bring staff, says Matty Maguire. I don't know what to think of this. We were as excited when Ten Hag was hired, and what's the point if he does not get the backroom staff, says Red Devil. Have to say it's a progressive step, says The Boat. Jokeres incoming, says Truk. Welcome, Ruben. Mark, what's your feeling about the new manager and the fast acting of Ineos, says Remzo. Well, I've spoken about the fast acting. What's my feeling about the manager? This is just totally and utterly speculative. What do I think this is going to lead to? I've got absolutely no idea. I know the plan, and I knew the plan with Ten Hag, and we never saw it. We never saw anything like what Ten Hag did at Ajax. Nothing like it. We've never seen anything that what Rangnick did before Man United or with Austria. You look at Austria in the Euros and the way they played. We never saw anything like that at Man United. So my big concern is, we've had Rangnick, we've had Ten Hag, and now we've got Amorim. And they've all got styles of football that we'd all like to see. But with two of those managers, we never saw it. So my big concern is, I think Amorim's a good choice, but can he get these players to play football? Because it's been very hard for the last two managers to try and do it. Now, the question is, can the players actually do it? Because if they can't do it, he won't get them to do it. And that's going to be the big thing. Can these players do what needs to be done? And the players are the thing that worries me. Here we go, says Dan. Let's go. Welcome, Amorim, says Sulai. Honestly, I hope it all works out for him, says Slow Sports News there. Ineos don't hang around, says Ryan. Glazers would have taken months on this appointment, says Jide. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Yeah, and my other concern in the immediacy is, I mean, somebody said to me, there's no way Amorim will take this job if he doesn't get his managerial team with him. I hope that that's correct. I haven't heard anything either way, but it would be absolutely huge if we just bring a manager in and tell him to work with Ten Hag's coaches. That's just thick. I don't think they'll do that. And it goes against what Ineos is all about, whether it's the America's Cup with the boat, whether it's Mercedes in F1, whether it's the cycling team. It goes against what Ineos is fundamentally all about. They don't just take one part of the puzzle. They want to buy the whole puzzle. Will Brazier, who I do the podcast with, has said, what does this mean for Southgate? Southgate was never going to be Manchester United's manager, and I was never worried about it post-March. In March, there was genuine conversations going on, and there was genuine journalists talking about it. But when he wasn't even getting a sniff in the summer, we were never going to go back in with that. Yeah. Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth are in Lisbon at the moment, apparently. So that's going on. And hopefully he's going to bring his team with him. We are still waiting to hear anything about that. But Sporting have informed the Portuguese stock exchange that Man United are paying the release clause. So that is all done and dusted, deal done. Obviously, official news will come out when we get the quotes from everybody. Will he be in charge tonight? I don't know. Nobody's really talking about whether he's bringing his team with him. I'm just reading through a few bits at the moment, and he is expected to be in charge for the Chelsea game, definitely. I just hope that he's put his foot down and said he wants to bring his team with him, because I think that is a massive difference. As I say, if you get a manager, that's great. If you get a manager in his coaching team, that's better than getting a manager on his own. January transfer window is more important now, says Liam. Yeah, well, I think if you want to take the hint on, I mean, transfers is not something that's entered my head at all yet, but if you want to take a hint from the way that Ineos have behaved here and how quick they've behaved, I'd be very, very surprised if they didn't utilise the January transfer window, because you've gone from Ten Hag sacked on Monday to Amorim, the new manager, on Tuesday. That would lead to believe that they're not going to wait. That they're not looking to snooze, are they? So I would suggest that there's probably a very high chance that they will utilise the January transfer window if they can. What's available in the January transfer window, I don't know. But even if it's one or two players, it's still better than nothing, and we've refused to use it in the last couple of years. Jack Rodwell says, does this mean Ruud and Hake are likely leaving? I don't know, Jack, because if I'm being really honest, that's really harsh and really unlikely, but probably essential. Like, Hek and Ruud only started in July. It's October. Can we get rid of them that quick? But keeping them doesn't make any bloody sense. It really doesn't, does it? It makes absolutely no sense to do it. It's like having a local shop on the high street that's teaching people Spanish lessons, and then they sack the boss of that place and in and teach French lessons, but the two Spanish teachers are going to work with him. Like, there's no correlation between Rene Hek, Ruud van Nistelrooy and Amorim. There is absolutely none. But it's a shit show, says Linda Searles. It absolutely is, because we've given him the job and Amorim's got the job, but we've only just brought Hek and Ruud van Nistelrooy in to work with Erik ten Hag. But I feel bad for them, but only on a human level. You know, on a footballing level, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I guess it's one of those, isn't it? Yeah, really. I don't know what happened with my internet. Went down there. Just refresh. Let me refresh myself. I'm just waiting for this to come back here. I don't know what's gone wrong. Hopefully it should be okay. Oh, it's okay now. Good. Yeah. So yeah, I think I think Linda is absolutely spot on. The Rene Hek and Ruud van Nistelrooy situation is actually a shit show when you think about it, because they've only been there for 3 months, and I feel sorry for them on a human level. I really, really do. But on a footballing level, as I said yesterday, that's football. Managers get sacked. And you can't keep people in post just because you employed them in the summer. You employed them in the summer for a purpose that is not there anymore. And I don't know how you could say to Amorim, you can have the Man United job, but you've got to work with Ruud van Nistelrooy and Rene Hek. Because I would say, no, I've never worked with them before in my life. I don't know anything about them. You're asking me to go to war with two people. I've got no idea about their personality or anything. I want these people that I've worked with all my career. Amorim's coaching staff came with him from Braga. They've been together for years. You can't break that up. Mourinho used to have a team with him. Pochettino has a team with him. They've got to do that. So logically, I think Rene Hek and Van Nistelrooy both have to go. But until we know that, I don't know. Space Dog says, first super chat since turning 18. I love the content. Heard you talking about Inside 9 on the podcast. Do you have a favourite episode? I quite like the referee one. I watched that the other night, but I'm still working my way through, mate. But there's some good ones. I like the call centre one with the 3 cameras as well. I just like that setup. I thought it was really cool. Will the Player FC be finally stopped if Ten Hag succeeds with his next club? I'm afraid there is no change before we make a proper clear out, says Marty. Chelsea is a hard first game, says Max. I think it's the perfect first game. I really do. I think Chelsea will be looking at that. I think it's absolutely perfect, and I think it's a well-timed question because I'll never answer this in a preview. So why do I think Chelsea's the perfect game for him to be in charge, and why do I think Amorim will want that? It's perfect. Because if we get beat 4-0 at Old Trafford, Amorim will get no blame. No blame at all. Because he won't have been there long enough, and it'll be on the players. If you win that game, he will get all the praise. And I know that sounds completely contradictory, but he can't lose in that game is what I'm trying to say. If Chelsea beat Man United, it looks really bad on the players. If we beat Chelsea, it's a great start for Amorim. So I would absolutely want to be in charge for that game. I would expect us to get a good result. I would expect us to get a new manager bounce. The new manager bounce is not exclusive to Manchester United. It's been going on for decades. It's a well-known thing in football, that new manager bounce. So I think regardless of whether Chelsea's a hard game or not, I don't see any downside to it. If we lose, I think everybody would look at the players and go, you absolute wasters. And if we win, everyone would go, here we go. So I think it's the perfect first game. And of course, if you win that game, it's such a significant game to win in relation to the fact that Chelsea are going for the top 4. It could really kickstart things because then you've got Leicester at home in the Premier League, Ipswich away, Everton at home. So you could literally win 4 in a row. Give him time, Deadwood out. Let's back the manager. Ineos needs to give him the players, the new project, and trust the process. The number of times deja vu has hit us as United's fans is unreal, says Mojo. From Seattle, I've got my jumper, Mark. It's fire. Just hope this works with the new manager. I really wanted it to work with Ten Hag, but things needed to change. I agree, Alex. Thank you very much for your super chat. Slip in Jimmy says, head up, bro. It gets better in time. Does this mean Ruud and Heck are likely leaving, says Jack. We've done that one. January transfer window is important. I'm not so sure why. Robert McCormack says, this is interesting, actually. I'm not so sure Rennie Heck and Ruud van Nistelrooy were Ten Hag's choices. And that is a cracker. Because if Ineos wanted to bring Ruud in, I've got a feeling Van Nistelrooy stays. Either way. I think he's going to stay because I think Robert McCormack's nailed it. I actually think Ineos wanted to bring Ruud van Nistelrooy in, and I think he will stay. I think it's wrong. I don't see how that works. I still think Van Nistelrooy has got nothing to do with Amorim, and it makes no sense, but I do agree with Robert that they might have brought him in. Hi, Mark. Probably a bad time to ask, but do you have any tips on dealing with anxiety about health and not knowing of it? Really struggling, thanks. Anxiety about health and the not knowing of it. Depends what your anxiety is, Slipping Jimmy. I mean, if you've got genuine health issues, go to the doctors, like, you know, if you're getting stomach aches or anything like that. If it's anxiety about things, then I think, obviously, that's something to work through. And I think in life, one really important lesson that I've always adhered to is that you worrying about things you can't control is like a game of tennis where you're not knocking the ball back to the other side. You're just holding the ball. In life, you should always try and knock the ball back to the other side. And things that you don't control, you must try not to worry about because you can't control them. You can only control how you react to things. So stressing about Amorim being successful, you can't control, but you can hope he's going to be successful. Hi, Mark. Probably at a bad... There you go, Slipping Jimmy. I hope that works. New start for everyone, including Anthony. I think he's gone. K-Stone. I think Anthony's gone. Patrick Lynch says, as fans, we need to temper our expectations with Amorim. This season is for building the base. Be good to see how our future may look, though. Do you think next season Man United can finish top 4, says SK? Way too soon. Way too soon. I think the race for top 4 will be very difficult this season, and I wouldn't expect it to be any different next season. We've never looked like competing with Chelsea or Spurs or Aston Villa and certainly not Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City. So, and not just this season, last season. We finished 8th last year. We've been nowhere near the top 6 for about 12 months. So the first challenge of Amorim is to get us competing with Spurs, Villa and Chelsea. Don't be kidded by cups. A cup team is different to a league team. 38 games is about consistency. Cup football is about, on the day. I think we all know on our day, for a decade, we are capable of beating anybody, but we're not consistent. So you could argue that Mourinho's second place and Ollie's second place deserves a little bit more credit than maybe some of the trophies we've won. But ultimately, trophies are trophies. What Amorim's got to do is get us competing with Spurs and Villa and Chelsea first, before we even think about Arsenal, Man City and Liverpool, because our league form for 12 months is shocking. And you can take the piss out of Spurs, but they're more consistent than us. I know they're Spurs, and I know they lost at the weekend, but they're more consistent than us. They finished above us last year, and they're above us now. So the first things first is, I'm not talking about top 4 for Amorim. That has to be a target, but we've got to find consistency first. Abhijit, the season is a big pre-season for Amorim. Great point. Dean says, basically the rest of the season will be for us to play catch-up. Hope we can do well with this new manager. Well, I think I said it to you last night. I think that when you do a pre-season as a new manager, a lot of it's fake because it's a tour, it's marketing, it's PR, and it's not real. You might play Real Madrid and Liverpool, but it's not real. When he plays Chelsea and Leicester and Arsenal next month, it's his pre-season, but they are competitive games. He will learn very, very quickly about the real character of these players. The hard thing about a new manager is you take these players on tour, everybody's smiling, the sun is shining, you play Liverpool and, you know, somebody does a pre-season Pirlo and you think, I can trust them. Then the real season starts and pre-season Pirlo becomes, you know, Anthony. And you go, I can't trust them. And then you're with them for a year. The great thing about Amorim is he's got no PR. He's got no fake. He's got no sun. It is literally time to go to work in the dark months of autumn. And the players that are going to play for you, you'll learn about very, very quickly. I don't like Rashford, but maybe he said thanks privately, says Familiar. Mate, Marcus Rashford, if he is saying thank you to Ten Hag, he should do what he's been doing for the last few years of his career. Put it on Instagram. Like, he is a brand. Like, just say thank you like everybody else. I'm sure he will. Which is more impressive, Sporting being ready to get their best manager quickly or United getting their next manager quickly? What's more impressive, Sporting being ready to get their best manager quickly or United get... Well, I don't know. I don't know what you mean, Hyans. I don't really care what Sporting do, as long as we've got what we've got. What are the season expectations now with Amorim, says Stuart? I think for me, I think that I would like to win the Europa League. I think that's the one. Jake says, I'd rather a private thank you than a fake one on social media. Maybe they spoke to him in person because it isn't online. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, says Jake. Yeah, I agree, Jake, but I think he should just put it out publicly because a lot of people are criticising him for not doing it, and that's what I'm saying. I don't really care whether he does it publicly or not, but I think he will. Amorim inherited at Sporting with no titles for decades, a bad team, bad financial and structure. He can do it, says Mark. Would you rate the squad he's inheriting compared to when Ten Hag came in? Oh, what a question. Jamaican Duo says, how would you rate the squad Amorim is inheriting to the squad that Ten Hag is inheriting? What a question. This is exactly why I love this community, because just when you think you're going to cover absolutely everything off, you get a question like that, which I never would have thought of. So is this squad today better than the one that Ten Hag inherited? What a question, but also no one will get that in the media. They won't take that on board. They'll write all their stories of leaks about, oh, he was a bit strict. To be honest with you, Erik Ten Hag inherited the worst ever Manchester United Premier League side. Like, we didn't get 60 points. The most toxic Man United dressing room side. The team that Ollie left that down tools for Ranić. So, absolutely, 100%, this squad is better than it's doing at the moment. I mean, it's just won a bloody FA Cup. It's not completely useless. It's just terribly inconsistent. So, the squad that Amorim is inheriting is better than the one that Ten Hag inherited, 100%. I mean, look at some of the players you've got. You've got people like Garnacho and Mainu and Rasmus and Ahmad, really talented young players. You've got good signings like Xerxes, Anana, Delit, Mazraoui, Yoro, Martinez. I think Delot's a good player. You've got Bruno Fernandes, of course. I mean, some of these players were there already, but I think he's got a stronger base than Ten Hag, and he's got a stronger structure above him. So I wouldn't say it's an easier job. I think it's a harder job. I think the further we get away from winning a title under Sir Alex, the harder it comes. In many ways, his job's harder, but but I think the squad is better. It's just whether he wants to use it. And of course, he's inheriting Agate, a player that he basically helped build before he went to PSG. So he's got Agate as well. I'm very excited about Agate. I think for me, one of the things that really pissed me off with Ten Hag at the end, and we saw it on Sunday, was how you spend £60 million on a midfielder and you don't fucking use him, and then you use Casemiro, the guy you dropped in an FA Cup final and tried to sell in the summer. And I'm sort of I think that I don't want to talk about Ten Hag anymore because he's gone, but there are a few frustrations I want to get off my chest. The survival football at the end reminded me of Ollie. In the sense, remember when Ollie went to a back five and you're like, oh, fuck off. You're gone, mate. What are you trying to do? You're now doing stuff you've never done before, just trying to survive. And obviously that's what Ten Hag did at the end. Like, I mean, all due respect to Casemiro and Johnny Evans and Ericsson, but they weren't the plan in the summer. They weren't the plan in the summer. And then suddenly they're playing every week because he's absolutely shitting himself trying to keep his job. And I think that the Casemiro one, especially against West Ham, I'm just like... And he did it against Villa, didn't he, before the international break? He didn't play Agate against Porto. He didn't give him a minute against Porto. He didn't give him a minute against Villa. And he didn't give him a minute against West Ham. I would not be surprised if that was one of the big factors behind Ineos sacking him. Not massively, but I would not be surprised if they actually sat there and went, you know what? We've spent £60 million on a player that we think is going to be really good for us, and he won't even give him a minute. He's actually using him... he's using Casemiro, who he dropped in the FA Cup final. But look, I'm talking the future now. That's what matters. And I'm very excited to see what he can do with Agate. I certainly think under Amorim, we're not going to see Agate sat there for 2 months and a manager every press conference saying he's got to adjust to the Premier League. I think Amorim will trust him from day one. Agate equals Van der Beek. Van der Beek didn't work for Ten Hag, says Paul Shannon. How, mate? I don't know what you're talking about. Van der Beek has got nothing to do with Agate and has only been here for a few weeks. What about Anthony playing left wing back, says Chris. I think it's one of the most stupid theories in the world. And I think that if you actually saw what Anthony did when he got asked to play left back last season, you'll know he won't be being used at left back. I would have liked a goodbye from Ten Hag, says Scott. You very rarely get them, mate. I don't think Mourinho did one. Ollie did one that was quite unique as well. How many games until we see Amorim's 5 at the back system in play? What first fixture do you see it happening? Says Kieran. Good question again. How quick will he do that? There's part of me that thinks he may as well do it from day one. But if you don't do it from day one, do you do it? You may as well jump in at the deep end. Apart from everything else, Amorim needs to change the mindset first. He needs to be given a free hand. I feel that Ineos were planning about Amorim long back. Agate signing makes more sense, says Srijit. Oh, mate, you know what? Just for a bit of banter. I saw a tweet today, and I'll bring it in the show. Why not? They were basically saying that I wonder how long Ineos were looking to get Amorim in, because Agate is an Amorim player. He played with him at Sporting before they sold him to PSG. And then the tweets were sort of developing, and then somebody said in the replies, well, have you ever thought about the fact that the Portuguese players would want Amorim as well? Like Dalot and Bruno, both Portuguese players, of course. And then you look at the game against West Ham, Dalot misses an open goal, and Bruno misses the target from a free header 6 yards out. So there was this, like, I think it was pure banter, but the conspiracy theory that Bruno and Dalot were in on it to get Amorim in, missing opening. I mean, I don't know how Dalot misses that goal. I can't even watch it anymore. I don't know how he misses it, but it's not as bad. But Bruno's header from 6 yards out, unmarked over the bar, was shite as well. But no, I don't think they bought Agate because they wanted Amorim. If Ten Hag had kept winning, then he would have stayed in a job. He wouldn't have got sacked if he'd beaten West Ham. So that I don't think you can sit there and say Ineos bought Agate for Amorim and the Portuguese players are missing open goals for Amorim, because if Ten Hag had kept winning, he wouldn't have got sacked, would he? We can focus on the Europa League now, says Sean. It will be interesting to see how these players perform under a new manager, says Cast. It could be very well a case when they would do really great this season and finish in the top 4 and then tank next season. Well, I mean, that's the scary thing, isn't it? Even if there is success in the first season, you shit yourself in the second season, because look at what happened with Ten Hag. First season, 3rd Carabao Cup. I think some people forget that first season. Like, we finished 3rd and we won the Carabao Cup. So even if we have a good first year with Amorim, it will always be in the back of my head, when's the drop-off coming? Because that is another thing. It's not just about where we are at the moment. Traditionally, the 3-year cycle is a really good first year, an okay second year, and then a major drop-off in the 3rd year. So don't forget that. Even if things start well, we've seen the movie before. Hi, Mark. Do you think players suddenly come back from injuries fast now? Well, you would think that, Anders, but apparently Luke Shaw's got injured again. No stakes in pre-season either, says Patrick. Federal, welcome to the Members Club. Perhaps we should consider the likes of Brentford, Villa, Brighton before we consider the Leeds you just mentioned there, says Tony. Yeah, I mean, they're consistent teams, you're right. We made the wrong decision signing De Ligt. Been trying to get him for 4 years. Should have gone for Antonio Silva. De Ligt is going to flop, mark my words, says Customer Support. No, I don't. I mean, look, you're entitled to your opinion, but I do reiterate what I've been saying for a few weeks. I think some of the behaviour towards new signings has been really bad. I would hopefully file that under frustration around the manager, but we're going to need 3 centre-backs in the current system. So even if De Ligt didn't do that well and ended up being 4th choice, like, we're going to need 6 centre-backs, aren't we? So I'm not unhappy with De Ligt. For the price we paid, I think we got good value. Mark, do you think Amorim will bring in Gyökeres? I don't know. That would be for the summer, I suppose, with that one. What about coaching and medical staff, Mark, says Harakesh? We'll have to wait and see. What's our ideal backline with 3-4-3? Check out the video, Nathaniel. It went up on the channel at lunchtime. Will he keep Bruno as captain? 100%, Simon. Yes. Pickle says you missed my last super chat. I thought I'd been through them all, mate, but I'll go and have a look again. Thank God Eric got sacked. Was going to get insane, hoping we're going to get win next week. Finally can start the season because we never dominated any team, says Udit. And Kevin says, will Ineos give the manager the player he wants? I don't want option C or D like every other manager had to take and ultimately lead failure. I don't think the manager will ask for what he wants, mate. I think you need to understand how this is going to work. He will be a coach, not a manager. He will not be able to knock on the door and say, buy me Gyökeres, or Gyökeres, or however you pronounce it. If the board decide that's the striker they want, they will go and get him. But it won't be Amorim telling them who to get. It might not be Amorim telling them who to get rid of either. That's the whole point of what Ineos wanted to do with Ten Hag, and he had the veto. I don't think Amorim will have a veto because they didn't want him to have that. Calm me a dreamer, but I'm calling Nuno Mendes to United next summer, says Andrew. Exciting time, says Tom, but he will have Ten Hag and Ollie's staff now. We need consistency. Is everything happening as you hope, predict? I want to see him bringing his own coaches with him. I don't want him to be given Ruud van Nistelrooy and Rennie Heck. I think it's really unfair. Aji says that's probably an indication that he probably didn't want Ugarte. Rumours about him not wanting McTominay and him wanting Amrabat, but Wilcox prevented it. Luciano says prime Ugarte, Mainu and Ahmad. Thank you very much for that as well. Okay, I'm just going to have a quick look because somebody just said there's some more news coming in here. Let me have a quick look. Thanks everyone who's watching, by the way. Make sure you subscribe and smash a like on the video. Will he manage the game tonight for Sporting? I don't know. I actually don't know what's... I know they've got a game tonight, but I don't know whether he is going to... manage it or not. And still nothing coming out about who's coming in with him. Yeah, we did a good video today at lunchtime on the formation, the tactics, and the players that might struggle. So give that a watch. A few people have mentioned Onana. I mean, I didn't really get time in that video to go individually through every single player, but there is a chance that Onana... look, you can't come into a team as a manager and just say, get rid of everybody. You can't do that. The way Sporting play, the goalkeeper is another defender as much as he's a shot stopper. And what I mean by that is he's another passing option. And if he's another passing option, he creates more passing lanes because he is part of the build-up play. We know Onana can do that. So that goes in his credit. I don't necessarily... I think if you'd asked me a few weeks ago, I felt that Ten Hag's Onana pick was obviously destructive. We lost a very good goalkeeper because of it. But Ten Hag felt we needed a ball-playing goalkeeper and then never played out from the back. If we've got a coach that's going to play out from the back, we might genuinely start to see what Onana's real attribute is, which is playing out from the back. So I don't necessarily think that he's on the chopping board. I think Anthony's gone. I think Casemiro's gone. The centre-back situation becomes quite interesting because I would have said Lindelof, Evans and Maguire are all gone. But if you're playing three centre-backs, one of them could end up staying because if you play three centre-backs and you play De Ligt, Yoro and Martinez, you need another three to cover those games. Of course you do. I still think you could play one of your full-backs in that position. I think if you understand how they play, Mazraoui could play as the right-sided centre-back because they almost become a full-back at times anyway. So, yeah, look, I think it's going to be very interesting. And I think the transfer conversation will get very interesting as well. Very impressive on how we're getting the new manager so quick, says Yuriam. But the best thing about this is that we are sticking to City in the process. Matthew Elric, welcome to the Members Club. You're a legend. I wonder what ex-players think about this since they were outspoken about Ten Hag to Simon. Look, we'll have to wait and see in the fullness of time. But I genuinely, we know the media as well as we know anything else. And I genuinely expect that there will be that initial period of happiness. But what's the difference between Ten Hag and Amorim? Everything they said about Ten Hag applies to Amorim. Very successful in a foreign league that's not the Premier League. What's his experience? So I think that the smiles will be there, but what's behind the smile might come out over the next few weeks and months. I don't know. I suppose last time they wanted Pochettino or Simeone. Who did they want this time? Because those managers were not there. So they might be more amenable to it. But Amorim's not going to be traditionally what our ex-players, British media really want, is it? But, I mean, God, they probably wanted bloody Southgate, didn't they? I don't know. Telegraph are saying that sources have claimed that Van Nistelrooy is uncomfortable with the notion that he was brought in under the basis to replace Ten Hag. It's even been suggested he expects to leave once a new head coach is employed. I feel bad for Van Nistelrooy, I think he's got to go. I don't see how him and Amorim... Deep says, is Amorim good with promoting the youth? He's very good at promoting the youth. They've got a lad called Quenda, who's 17, who, interestingly, I think he's left-footed. And he plays in one of the, like the wing positions. So the 3-4-3. 17 plays in one of them positions. But also, even though he's left-footed, sometimes plays in the right-sided position as well. So very good at, very open to promoting youth. Very open to bringing in young players and developing them, because that's the Sporting model. You bring players in, you develop them, and then you sell them. So I'm not worried about any of those things. Also does speak English and is very charismatic. So, yeah. Going back to what I was saying about Ruud, though, I do feel sorry for Ruud because, and I'll tell you for why. From day one, people perceived Ruud van Nistelrooy coming in as the logical person to take Ten Hag's job. And every time he moves on the touchline, oh, look at him auditioning for the job. So he's always had that. And whether he thought that wasn't going to happen or not, that has always happened and was always going to happen. So now that he's not going to get the job, it's very obvious that he wasn't brought in for that reason. He was actually brought in to help Ten Hag, wasn't he? Now, he probably does need to go, because if you keep him, what's the correlation between him and Amorim? There isn't anybody. You're forcing somebody on. But yeah, I do feel bad for him in the sense that, you know, he has always been seen as the heir to the throne. I was Eric Ten Hag in up until the Villa game, so I'm optimistic, but he must be given time and authority to drop Rashford and other underperforming players, says Steve. I believe the difference now is Amorim comes in with a structure behind him and a board that picked him compared to Ten Hag, says Arjun. Amorim did lose 9-3 on aggregate to Ten Hag's Ajax, says Extra. And Decon says, I'm buzzing. Mate, Sporting played PSV a couple of weeks ago in the Champions League, got absolutely dominated for shots and possession. So, like, there is a reality to this world. He doesn't skittle everything in front of him. Sporting do get beat, do get dominated sometimes. And PSV did that to them a couple of weeks ago. So it's not a magic medicine. It's a very, very exciting coach that you hope goes to a bigger club with bigger expectations and replicates what he did at Sporting Lisbon. I'm buzzing. We got this moving so quickly, says D. Khan, for the new manager, but now I quickly want to see a style of play and identity for our club. I think one of the interesting things is Bruno as well. I've said so long that Bruno's not been playing for very long, and I've said for so long I don't think he's capable of playing in a possession-based team. Well, here we are, Amorim, Sporting, Portuguese, with Bruno Fernandes, new contract, captain, leader. How they fit together could be critical. Can he get the best out of Bruno Fernandes in the system he wants to play? Can Bruno finally show what many of us think he can do? The discipline and composure in a possession-based team. Because he's going to be essential. He is not a player that's going to be on the chopping board, is he? Very impressive on how we're getting a new manager so quick, says Yuriam. But the best thing about this is that we are sticking to... I've done that one, haven't I, as well? Matthew, thank you very much. Mark, there wasn't any relationship to Ten Hag and Ruud either, besides being Dutch. But he's there to be a United legend. He'll stay, says Nelson. And there endeth the most irrelevant point I've ever read. Why would you appoint an assistant manager to be a United legend? I couldn't give a fuck about him playing for United. I want an assistant manager that suits the system we want to play and gets on with the manager and is elite. I don't give a shit if he played for Man United. I've got no interest. I don't care that Barada never has got nothing to do with Man United, or Dan Ashworth or Jason Wilcox. I want this manager to have the coaching staff that made him the manager that we've signed. I don't want to say, hello Ruben, hello Ruud, go for a pint and make this football club great. It's idiotic. It's absolutely idiotic to stick two strangers in a room and say, you're going to rebuild this football club. You've gone for Amorim because of the success he's had at Braga and Sporting. So bring the people that helped him be successful. I think he described one of his assistant coaches before as Jose Mourinho to Bobby Robson. And if you know the story, Jose Mourinho was Bobby Robson's assistant one day. Ineos did a good job with the media in the summer window, upper management appointments and their manager search. Is it possible that the Ineos will push the media to support the new coach? Says Hookham. I hope the media do support the new coach. I think they're one of the biggest issues around Manchester United. I think it's always about Manchester United. So I hope they do. And I'm sure they will do initially, because they'll be thinking, what can we get out of it? Sulai says, Rashi out, Amorim gets sacked if he trusts that dude. Well, I think that's a bit unfair, mate. I think that's a bit unfair. Anyway, look, we are back at 8 o'clock tonight. I've got a Leicester preview to do, and obviously we'll have all the latest news as well. Actually, very looking forward to doing the Leicester preview, because Ruud will pick the team, and I think it becomes very clear that he likes Ahmad. So the team that gets picked tonight, how much of a chance do they have to play well and put themselves right at the top of the queue for the game against Chelsea? I mean, look, there is a large part of me looking at that Leicester game going, don't you bloody dare. Don't you bloody dare start scoring hat-tricks and everything like that, you fuckers. You know, I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter. Ten Hag's gone and Amorim's coming in, but there would be a part of me that would be really angry with the players if they suddenly started finishing all these chances and playing perfect passes. But look, it wouldn't surprise me. It really, really wouldn't. Absolute legends as per usual. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Absolutely loving the content at the moment. Somebody just said there's another tweet come out, so I'll just double check it. But what I'm waiting for now is to see whether he's bringing his backroom staff with him, because that would be the big thing. Nothing going on at the moment any further. I'm sure more stuff will come in. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you subscribe, get involved. I'll see you back live at 8 o'clock. And thanks for watching as usual. Exciting times, hopefully. Let's go. Amorim has a notice period. He can't start till the end of November. Would that potentially give room for us to negotiate on backroom staff? Oh my God. Oh my God. That's surely we can kill off the notice period. I tell you what, I don't want to end it on a bad one. Surely we can kill that off. That doesn't make any sense to Sporting. Why would Sporting not let him start? There's no benefit to that. Yeah, we don't want that to happen. That would be horrible on so many levels, because you're waiting for Amorim at the end of November, but you've got Ruud for a month, who is irrelevant because he's not working with Amorim. He's not going to get the job. So you're basically treading water for a month. I think we'll find a way through that. Stephen says, what formation would he likely play, do you think? Check out the video on the homepage called Why Ruben Amorim, how Ruben Amorim will set up Man United. It's only 10 minutes. It's on the homepage. You'll really enjoy it. Take care, everyone. I'll speak to you all in a bit.